right. So today we are organizing our second. We have organized our second webinar to discuss how you can be able to write the different materials required for application here in the US. We had our first webinar, I think in July. We had the first webinar in July. We talked about a lot of things. And we also recorded a video that you can always find when you click the link we always share. But it has a lot of information. I want to thank you all members for really spending time to come and be part of this webinar. It really is it's just that we are doing something that is beneficial to many people. So I really cannot say that I can take that for granted. Thank you so much, because we are here and we keep chatting on WhatsApp. So you don't know what happens on WhatsApp, but seeing members here is a good thing. So I really appreciate you and for your time. I also want to appreciate my brother Manuel, and I want to say that this particular webinar it's been his idea because him and the rest of us who made presentations last time, we have been getting a lot of feedback from members from that side and asking us so many questions. And Manuel thought, okay, why don't we just organize another webinar and then we inform people what is required and how they can write all these materials. So this time it is Manuel's. I don't take the credit, it's Manuel. My work was just to send the Zoom link. So Manuel, thank you so much for your time and for the heart of helping our friends to come here. I also want to note, it's not important, but I want to note that one of my friends who was one of the webinar speakers last time, Moses, came from Uganda, and he arrived here yesterday. So as I speak right now, he's this side. And yeah, I think he's having a great time here. So we want to see many people who are in this Zoom webinar coming over to this side. We are here to help you. So I hope that you take whatever we tell you like seriously, and then use it to write and apply, because it is possible. And I've also seen some members here, I will not say their names, but they have been getting feedback from universities. One of them got from Harvard. I've always wanted to go to Harvard, but someone here has an acceptance from a professor from Harvard, and I think it's a very good thing. So this is just to lay foundation, to let you know that whatever we are doing is possible. It is not about your background and everything. No, it's how you write the documents that come out from, that come to the professors. That's what is important. So not whether I have whichever background, doesn't really matter. Yeah, so without wasting much more time, I want to hand over to Manuel. He is kind enough to discuss all this. He has so many things to discuss. I will let him do that. Manuel, do I have to introduce you, or you can introduce yourself?
You don't need introduction. So
right.
Can we give us an opening prayer before we start?
All right, so let's pray. I always forget, Manuel, and you always remind me. Let's pray for sure. Lord, we thank you for such a time that we have. We gather here, King of Glory, to talk about how we can get opportunities to come in the US, how we can get scholarships that can change our lives. We ask that whatever we discuss here shall be very important and shall bring many people to US, many people to get scholarships so that they can meet the dreams they've always had. I pray this, trusting and believing in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen.
Thank you. I think you need to allow me again to share my screen.
Can you share your screen, or do you need me to?
No, it said host disabled.
Host disabled? Oh,
yeah.
All right. I think it's because I went off a little bit. So I think you have that right now. You can go ahead.
Thank you. Big, yeah. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Manuel, and I want to thank Ivan. First, I want to thank God for being here again, and I want to thank Ivan for also the opportunity to speak to you once again. And I pray that for everything we discuss here, God will give us the grace to put it into practice. And those of us who have already started, continue. And those of you who are yet to do that, I pray that you put everything to practice in as well. Okay, so today I'll be discussing how to write statement of purpose or academic statement of purpose. I also discuss resume and CV, and I'll walk you through some SOPs that I have, my personal SOP, and a couple of those that I've reviewed from my friends. Then I'll do what we did the last time. I'll take you through how to search for schools and scholarship, how to reach out to professors, and then I'll answer, or myself and Ivan answer some few questions. The reason why I personally want to do some of these things aside the SOP and the resume is because when school reopens, it's going to be very, very busy for me. My schedule is very tight because I'm working on my research, my class, and my teaching as well. So it's going to be very tight. And I may not be able to respond to your emails like immediately, maybe taking you through some of these things. So I thought that, okay, why not push everything to the afternoon, at least from now till 2 p.m. US time, I should be available to answer some few questions. So that is why we are doing this. And once again, I want to thank you for joining and thank Ivan as well. So let's get started. Ivan, before we proceed, do you think we should start a WhatsApp call so that those who may not be able to join, they can hear or something, or you share the video with them? What do you think?
Okay, so I think since today is Thursday, some people are at work,
Okay.
others at school, others are doing exams. So
Okay.
that's one reason why they're not here. But
right, sure.
we shall share the video recording so that they can catch up with everything that has been discussed here.
All right, that works for me. Okay, so the first thing is what is an SOP? Like, what's an academic statement of purpose? I did some few research. I placed the link down. So at the end of the presentation, if you still need more explanation, you can click on the link and it sends you to read further. So a statement of purpose is very crucial in graduate studies. Like the name implies, your purpose. So what is your statement of purpose? In every organization, they have their mission statement, they have their vision statement and all that. What you want to achieve in the next 2-3 years, they have that. So when you're applying for graduate school, they also want to know what is your purpose. So a statement of purpose, or which some also call a personal statement, is very crucial, like I said, in graduate admission committee. And basically, the admission committee want to know who you are, what makes Manuel, who is Ivan, who is Irene, who is Moses, who just got here, that kind of thing. And the admission committee also want to know what are your academic and professional interests, what areas of research you want to do, what are your professional goals, what have you been doing before, and how you want to add value to the graduate program you're applying to. There are a lot of people applying to the school. Why should they select you alone? And what value are you bringing to the table? That is basically a statement of purpose. So admission committee want to know you, your academic and professional interests, and how you add value to the program you're applying to. That is statement of purpose, or SOP. So I'll be referring to SOP more than mentioning the full name. Okay, so that's the definition. Why is SOP very important? Or why is it important? Why do you have to apply to school and they ask you to submit a statement of purpose? Because your statement of purpose or your SOP is where you tell your story. Your story, what makes you unique, like I said before. Not anyone's story, you know yourself, so tell your story about who you are, why you deserve to be a part of a university community, those are the three things they are looking for. Telling your story in a way that describing who you are and why you deserve to be part of maybe FIU, why you deserve to be part of Harvard. And it gives the admission committee the chance to get to know you and understand how you add value to the program in the classroom. So they want to know you. Now, one of the directors of admission committee in a Northeastern University at Ohio, he said, an SOP can be a very deciding factor in your graduate application. You might have a very good transcript. You might have a very good resume. You might have a very good letters of recommendation. But if your SOP is not well presented, then you might find yourself wanting. You might also not have probably some grades, or maybe your reference letters are not very encouraging, but your statement of purpose can also can push you to that limit where they can say, oh, this person is lacking in this part, but we know his vision, we know his purpose and what he's bringing on board. And that will be a deciding factor in your admission. So it is very crucial for you to look at or to package your SOP very well. So having seen the definition and why it is very important, the question is, where do you start from? You want to write your SOP, where do you start from? So these are 4 steps that personally worked for me. And when I went online preparing the presentation, I read a couple of things that others also put in place. So to start, the first thing is to brainstorm. Now, these are the outline. You brainstorm, you develop an outline, you write the first draft, you edit and refine your work. The 4 steps: you brainstorm, develop an outline, writing the first draft, and editing your work. So I'll explain each of these as we go along. Okay, so how do you start? The first thing you have to do is to brainstorm. So I said every good and outstanding SOP begins with what? Brainstorming your ideas. You simplify the whole task, break down your task into the simplest form. You have to break down the task into simplest form. You go online, you read a lot of comments like write SOP in this way, which I know some of us have done, but you have to brainstorm. That is, break your ideas to the basic level so that when you take the first one, you know how to go about it. You take the second one, you know how to go about it. So the point is that throughout the admission process, the committee or the graduate school gives you some chance to speak to them, to address them directly, even though they are not there, but you have to address them. This is where you have the chance to speak to things that you think are your highlights and address things that are your weak point, things that you think might be an eyesore in your application. You have to address those things. So it just occurred to me, like, to brainstorm or to write your SOPs, like you think of it as a love letter to your loved one. Maybe those of us who have written a love letter before might know better. You are trying to convince someone why you think that, okay, among the guys that have come, choose me or accept me. That is when you begin to bring some sweet words or something. Just by the way. So you have to brainstorm. You are writing to them, even though they are not personally with you, but you are communicating to them in writing. Now, the point is this: every student or every applicant has their own abilities. They have their own story. They have their job experience. Some are from Harvard. They went to Harvard undergrad, Harvard masters. Some went to MIT, some all over the world, and you're applying to the same school with several experiences. So what you need to do is that you have to state what makes you very unique. That is like brainstorming process. So think about what makes you and start outlining all those things together. Okay, so now let's start to brainstorm. When you want to brainstorm, when you want to start your SOP in the process of brainstorming, the first thing you have to do is you have to ask yourself some few questions. There are a lot of questions, but I try to just put this four here. The first thing is, why do I want this degree? Why do I want to pursue master's or PhD in statistics, or maybe arts or epidemiology or civil engineering? Why do you want that degree? Think about that. The first thing. It's not just about Ivan and Moses are from Uganda. We work together. They're in the US. So by all means, I also have to be in the US. If you have that notion, you might not be able to write a very good SOP. So the first thing you have to ask yourself is, why do I want this degree? Whether that be master's or PhD or postdoc, whichever position you're applying for, why do I want that? Then the next question is, so you write that down, why do I want this degree? And you ask yourself that question and try to give yourself a response again. Take yourself as the student as well as the professor. Why do I want that degree? The next question is, what courses or programs features excite me the most? Let's say I really want to read, let's say, masters in, let's say, public health. Now, the thing is, what areas of public health excites you the most? What do you want to solve? Why are you interested in that particular area? I'll use myself as an example. I am reading statistics, but my research interests are in biostatistics, where I look at genomics and genetics and all that. These are things that excite me. Why? Because of something I heard before, so I want to look into it. So which part of the program or courses excite you the most? That's the second question. And the third question in the process of brainstorming is, where do I want this degree to take me to professionally and personally? After graduating from my master's program in statistics or my PhD program in statistics or civil engineering or whatever program you're applying for, where do you want to take that degree to? Do you want to go and work, continue working in the industry, or you want to be in academia, or you want to do much or carry much research, you want to impact humanity? Those are the questions you have to ask yourself in the process of brainstorming. So when you have answers to this, it puts you on the right track. So professionally and personally. Then, or sometimes some just want to get a PhD, because when you get a PhD, your salary becomes higher than someone who has master's or undergrad degree. So those are the questions you have to ask yourself and explain or respond to it by yourself as well. The next question in the process of brainstorming is, how will my unique professional and personal experience add value to the program? You've worked before. So Ivan worked in Uganda. He taught at the university and he's now here. He's doing PhD. And the question is, what experiences has he gathered over the years that will add value to the program? I finished undergrad in Ghana. When you finish school, you have to do what we call a national service. You serve the nation for 1 year. You can be posted anywhere to go and work based on your degree. I was privileged after graduating. I was a teaching assistant in the same department. And I taught for a couple of time before starting my graduate school. So my experience as a teaching assistant in teaching students in grading has given me some level of courage to face a lot of crowd, because personally, I'm a shy person. So what are your unique professional and personal experiences that will add value to your program? Look at all this, ask yourself these questions and respond to them, jot them down. So you jot these responses down to get your initial thoughts on paper. Not just asking yourself, why do I want this degree? okay, I want to get masters in that. Then that's it. No, write them down with the responses to each of the respective questions. So when you do this, this will act as your starting point that will help you to create an outline in your first draft. Once you answer these 4 questions, you're almost on your way to writing your first draft or getting your SOP to, let me say, 60%. Okay, so that's the first process, you brainstorm. Now, the next thing is to develop an outline. So you answer those 4 questions. There are many more questions, but you answer those questions. Now you want to develop an outline. That is, you put your ideas you've identified in the brainstorming process and plug them into an outline that will guide you in your writing. Write those questions with the responses. So now I want this degree. These are my professional experiences. This is what I want to work after graduating, or this is what I want to go to after getting this degree. So the brainstorming is more like a GPS for you. It guides you, give you a blueprint of what you want to do next. That is basically an outline. So I want to discuss this, I want to talk about that, I want to talk about this in my SOP. Now, your idea should be very effectively laid out to articulate. Sorry, your outline should be effectively laid out to articulate your ideas. You don't just talk about I want to get this degree. Then the next thing is that I have 10 years of experience in teaching and all that. No, it doesn't make sense. So lay them down one by one. Talk about your your degree. I want to get the degree to do this and that. Okay, based on my experience, this, that, then that. After graduating, I want to do this, this, and that. So lay them down. That will guide you. So that is the outline. Now, let's look at an effective outline. The first one is the introduction. Your outline should contain introduction. So the introduction can be an attention-grabbing hook or an icebreaker. Something that will break the ice. You don't just start and say, okay, my name is, Irene, I'm going to use you because I know you will talk more. So my name is Irene. I graduated from this school. I want to get a degree in this area. So I want to apply to that school. I'm not saying that's what you wrote, but I'm going to use it as an example. But it should be something that they will read that will captivate them. When you're watching a series, you watch episode 1 and they put in a suspense. So you are motivated to go and watch episode 2. And by the time you realize you are almost getting to the end of the season of the series. So they read something like, oh, okay, now let me dive into it more again. That is an icebreaker. Just like you bait a fish when you are fishing, it's the same way for your introduction. It should be an attention-grabbing hook. Then your introduction should be a brief introduction of yourself, your background, as it relates to your motivation behind your application to the school, right? A brief introduction of yourself and your motivation as it relates to your motivation behind applying to the school. So describe yourself briefly, and it could be maybe 10 lines or whatever, and your motivation. That will set, the pace and then your motivation for graduate school. So generally, you could start with a story or a fact detailing your motivation for the program. It could be a real life event or a past happening in your society or something you read online. Now, the point is this: there is no format in your introduction. You can start whatever you think is best for you. Okay. But then at the end of the day, it's just an icebreaker that will link you to your background and your motivation for the program. That is the introduction. It should be very brief, and then it will set the pace for you. Now, when you are done with the introduction, The next thing is your body. The body, when you're writing a letter, you have introduction, and then you will now explain yourself. So I try to break the body down into the simplest form based on my personal experience on my SOP and that of my friends. So the first thing I have to talk about is, after you describe yourself, your motivation and all that, the first thing is to talk about your academic preparation. You talk about your academic background. You highlight your strengths with evidence. Okay, so let's say Ivan or myself, let's say myself, I read statistics undergraduate. Then I want to continue with statistics at a graduate level. So I have to highlight my strength, a few courses that I've taken, the core ones which I know is related to statistics. I'll mention those ones for my transcript, even though they have the transcript, but I'll mention that one. Then with evidence, okay, this course I had an A, I had an B, that kind of thing. That is your academic preparation, what you've learned throughout the 4 years in your undergraduate degree. Or if you have masters already, in the case of Ivan and Moses, they already have their masters. So they talk about their academic preparation. Maybe it was in the classroom that your professor made a comment and you were like, oh no, I have to research into that. That is why I am pursuing this. I want to pursue this degree. Now, in your academic preparation as well, you have to explain briefly anything that might be a concern in your transcript, such as bad grades. Maybe in a particular course, you had a D, or you failed the course entirely, and you have to take a receipt. So you explain that using valid reasons. You don't just say, I was going home, I got into a fight, and my friend hurt me, so it doesn't really make sense. Explain that. It could be that, okay, you're having a financial challenges or difficulties. They really understood those kind of things here. Or maybe you lost someone. It could be someone close to you, your family, you have mental health issues, or you are really stressed and those kind of things. That was the reason why you had a D in this particular course. Just to explain anything that might be a concern on your transcript, or probably you didn't even understand the concept of the course in the first place. So you struggled during the exam, that kind of thing. So you briefly explain that, not just dedicate a whole paragraph, in a sentence, explain why you had a bad grade or something you think might be a concern in the transcript. That's for academic preparation. So talk about your background and explain anything might be a concern in your transcript. Sorry. Then the next thing is your research interest. This is very important in your graduate application, your research interest. You talk about what interests you, what you want to do, specific areas that you want to focus on when you are admitted into the program. Now, let's say Ivan, who was teaching back in Uganda before he came, probably was teaching chemistry, which I think he told me before, if I remember very well. And then you realize that, okay, in the course of my teaching, there is this thing that needs to be done. So he took that specific area to research into, right? So your research interest. In your research interest, you could also link your previous research experiences as a source of motivation for that area. So maybe he was teaching, like I said before, and maybe he came close to an equation and he looked at the equation, it wasn't really solved, or how to apply that equation to a real life problem. So, okay, now I want to pursue master's or PhD to really know the application of this equation in real life. That is a source of motivation to research into that particular area. Or maybe you've seen that there are children malnutrition in Uganda, and you thought that, okay, the government is embezzling money, which was meant to provide basic needs for these people. So because of that, you want to learn new policies or come up with new policies to help these underprivileged children. That is your research area based on your previous experience. Okay, that is the research area. Now you must also state, like I said before, why you are interested in that area. So based on your previous experiences, you will link that to why you want to pursue a degree in this particular area. So your research area is very, very important in your graduate application. That is the second part of the body. The third part is your relevant experience and accomplishment that relate to the field. So I'll be using Ivan a lot because I know he taught before. So Ivan taught for several years and you want to pursue PhD or is pursuing a PhD in the US. So you talk about your research area, your previous experiences related to your program or your research area. All right. Now, when you describe your previous experiences, link them to your program. Like I said, link them to your program and link them to your research area in every way possible. Now, some of the experiences you might have had might not be related to the program. For instance, you want to pursue, let's say, I don't know how it's been related, but let me just give you this example. You work at a bank before, and let's say you work at the bank for 6 months or maybe a year. Now, you've been dealing with finances, and all of a sudden you want to pursue chemistry, and you want to focus on organic chemistry. You don't know how you will link your banking experience to organic chemistry. I have no idea if it has an application, fine, but you should be able to link your previous experiences to your research work or your areas of interest. Now, if you have a master's degree in publication, cite them and link them to your research areas. Those are your accomplishments. I've written this paper. This is what I did when I was researching into that area, and this was what motivated me to write this paper. Cite them. These are things that in the admission committee want to see, your accomplishments and your experiences. If you are coming from the industry, like I said, you could talk about your experience, but it must be linked to the program. It must be linked to the program of interest. So you have to talk about look at the introduction, your academic preparation, like we said, and then you come back to your research area, your accomplishment, all in the body. Then the next thing is your professional goals as they relate to the program you're applying to. What do you want to do with the degree you're applying for? Why am I pursuing a degree in statistics? They want to know what you want to do. The committee want to know what you want to do. After spending maybe much money on it for 5 years, you just go and dump the degree somewhere and then you are just in life. No, they want to know what you want to do with the degree, right? Your professional goals. And what are your plans after graduation? You went for masters. So what are your plans? Do you want to go back to industry? Do you want to go and work? Do you want to set up an NGO? That kind of thing. So what are your plans after you graduated from the program? So for master student, you might want to say you want to continue to PhD or you want to go back to work. Or for PhD students, you want to go back to your previous place of work, or you want to consider a postdoc. There is no specific format. This is you, what you think you want to do in life. You have to tell them so that they know, okay, this person after graduation is going to do this, is going to do that to add value to humanity. That is your professional goals, all in the body. Then the next part of it, which is very crucial, is why are you interested in a particular school, in a specific school in a program? Why do you choose Harvard? Why do you choose FIU ahead of MIT? Why do you choose Harvard ahead of Princeton? These are all Ivy League schools, but why are you choosing specifically Harvard? You have to tell them. Tell them. Now, you have to say why this school is a fit for you. If the program is the right fit for you. For example, you could say because of diversity, like or in this school, they have a lot of diversity in form of Blacks, Asian, whatever, that diversity is there, the exposure is there, they have their funding options, or I choose this program or this school because of the opportunity or the chance to carry out research. There is no specific format anyway, like I said before. You have to really do extensive research on the department. Maybe the department, you want to work with this professor and he has a lot of funding, or he gives chances to his graduate students to express themselves and all that. So you have to really read and ask yourself or find out for yourself why you are interested in Harvard, MIT, FIU, University of Michigan, ahead of another school. Okay. Then another same heading why you are choosing a particular school. The next thing is, what are you bringing to the table? What are you bringing to the table? I was a teaching assistant in Ghana. So joining the department, I have a teaching experience. So blending or teaching students shouldn't be a problem for me. Or Ivan has taught for several years before coming here. So standing in front of students, explaining concept to them related to a specific topic or subject shouldn't be a problem to him. Or maybe his exposure to underprivileged people will help to be able to speak to or blend, motivate other people from similar background as well. So your experience, what makes you unique and why you should be considered for admission? What makes you unique? That is what you are bringing to the table. Things that make you unique, things that make you stand out to be considered for your admission and funding. So, like I said, you can emphasize your research and professional experiences or publications. Maybe schools admit students directly to a PhD. So somebody with an undergraduate degree does not, I saw a comment in the post. I'll come back to that.
Manuel, I'm trying to address some of those questions that keep coming within discuss. So no worries at all.
All right, sure. Thank you very much. So like I said before, your uniqueness could be your research and professional experiences in your publications, if you have one. Now, this is the point. If you are an undergraduate student, you want to go directly to a PhD, they know that you don't have much research experiences. So you shouldn't worry yourself, you don't have a publication. But if you do, cite one. If you don't, look at your internships or what we call attachment. Like during long holidays, you work with an organization, your voluntary work with NGOs and all that. State them, the relevant ones, state them. Now, the next part is relating to the program is to list or name 2 professors you want to work with in the department. It is very, very, very important. It is very, very vital. Now, one of these professors should be related to your field of study. I gave an example in our previous webinar that there is this particular school in New York. It's a chemistry program, and anytime students apply, they started rejecting them, even though they qualified, but they'll send out a decision that they'll be rejected. So one of the students who was in the city then went to the department and met with the department chair and said, hey, I've applied to this school. I think I've met all the qualifications, but why am I not being given admission? Why was I rejected? And the man said, you qualified anyway, but the professor you want to work with, he was a troublesome person. That anytime he's working with students, his students don't graduate from the program. They are frustrated. So either they leave the program or they transfer to a different school. So what they've decided to do is that if you state that person in your SPA, I want to work with this person, automatically they bounce you. So what you do is that you have to research, name at least 2 persons. Now, one of my friends also was interviewed, I think in early June, no, in early May for a PhD position. And one of the panel members said that he mentioned 2 professors, such that in the course of the program, if one person leaves, the other person can be able to handle him to graduate from the program. At least you have an idea about what he's doing. So research very well, go back to the department to which you are applying to, and read about the professors. In the US, that's one thing. They put their research interest, what they are doing, their current project, their funding, and all that on their department website or their personal webpage. So you read about it. If possible, go back to read about their publications and look at it. In my case, when I was applying, I mentioned 2 professors I want to work with. And to the glory of God, the first person I work with is still my advisor now. So you have to look at it, research very well. Now, it is also possible that when you're admitted to the program, you could change your advisor. Your research interest may change, but to be at the safer side, for a PhD and master's program, identify 2 faculty members in the department that has your research area directly, and then mention them, write their names out in the SOP. Okay. Now, you come to the conclusion of the body. So all that you've talked about, your academic preparation, your research interest, your work experience, what you are bringing to the table, summarize that in 1 or 2 sentences. So like I said, highlighted in red, it is recommended that you paraphrase step E, which we just saw here, in 1 or 2 sentences. That is fine. It is not really recommended, but just to be, so that they know that, okay, I've read all this. This is the summary of what the person is giving me. All right. That is about the conclusion for the body. So we look at the introduction, look at the body. Now, having gone through the introduction, having gone through the body with all the steps we've looked at, you have to write your first draft. Just put something together. So like we said before, your SOP should communicate who you are and why you are interested in the program. Who you are entails your academic preparation, your research interest, what you're bringing to the table, your professional experience and all that. That falls in point 1, who you are. Good. In as much as you are communicating, it is also very vital to position yourself in a way that differentiates you from other applicants. What is unique about you? Uniqueness. Your uniqueness is very vital in your SOP. Okay. Now, this is the point. The admission committee has your transcript. They have your resume. They have your letters of recommendation from your professors. They have your GRE, your TOEFL, your GMAT, your LSAT for law school and all that, and the MCAT for medical student. Your SOP is your chance to tell your story in your own words. Just be yourself. Now, I said, you are not all-knowing like God. So don't exaggerate. Don't exaggerate to impress anybody. Maybe you are not a top class student. Maybe you don't have a first class. You're in a second class upper or lower, or maybe you even had a pass. But don't go and exaggerate things that will make you a Superman. Sometimes when they read that and decide to conduct an interview, and in the course of the interview you're fumbling, they know that this person is lying. Remember also, these people have been reviewing application year in, year out. So they see a lot of applications. So they can easily tell you when this person is exaggerating. For instance, you stated something in your SOP. All of a sudden, one of your recommenders wrote something which did not really address that problem. They know that you are lying because they look at your reference letters as well. So just be yourself. Don't lie. Don't exaggerate. Tell your own story in your own way. That is writing the first draft. So put all that you've looked at after brainstorming, answering those 4 questions, and then getting an outline. You write your first draft. Just write anything down for your first draft. That is step 3 in the process of writing an SOP. Now, how do you begin your first draft? So these are some of the things I try to put down, or I place down for you. When you begin to draft or make your first draft, make sure you provide insight into what drives you, like we said, whether that's a professional advancement or personal growth or both. What is your driving force? What is driving you to pursue a PhD or a master's in a particular field, right? So your motivation, your professional advancement. Probably you just want to get a PhD to get a good job, because you know that maybe, I'm not saying that's the case, but maybe you know that in Uganda, to make a lot of money, you have to have a PhD to get MD, or to become a CEO of a company, or maybe get a master's to get a higher salary, or you want to advance yourself or make impact in society. So you have to provide insight into what drives you in writing your first draft. Number 2, demonstrate your interest in the school by addressing the unique features of the program that interests you. So like I said, for instance, you are excited to tackle a real life problem when I used Ivan in our example. So tackle a real life problem in your industry. Or maybe you are interested in a particular school because of the research they carried out. Maybe there's a particular professor in the Department of Chemistry which is carrying out a novel research. And you're like, oh, I want to work with this. This is right fit for me. Maybe this research they are doing here is not done in school B, or is not done in school C. So I want to be part of this research. So what demonstrates your interest in the school? These are some of the things that you can look at. And number 3, in drafting your first draft, make sure to be yourself, right? Make sure to be yourself. It helps to keep your audience in mind while writing, but don't forget to let your personality shine through it, right? So it's important to be authentic when writing your SOP to show the admitting committee who you are and why you are a unique perspective or prospect to add value to the program. Just be yourself, state your professional experiences, your research interests, and all that in your own way. That is in the process of writing your draft. Now, when you've gone through step 1 to 3, you've brainstormed step 1, you've developed an outline, you've made your first draft, and next thing you have to do is to edit and refine your work. Edit and refine your work. So before you submit your SOP or you upload your SOP on the application portal, right? Make sure you followed all the directions thoroughly. Some schools are very specific. I will show you one. They are very specific about margins, the spacing, and the font size. So what you need to do is that be sure to double check from your school to know the requirement. Some schools will tell you we need Times New Roman. I think that's the right one. Or some will tell you we need Calibri body or something. So look at the font size. We need a single space. We need a double spacing. Make sure to double check all those requirements. Make sure your work is aligned, your writing is aligned very well. Not maybe paragraph 1 aligned, paragraph 2 centered. No, make sure that you align your work. Justify your work. Microsoft Word can do that for you. The next thing is to make sure you proofread your work for grammar, spelling, and punctuations. Make sure you proofread your work. Sometimes you write an email or you write your SOP and you think that is the right thing, but don't rely on Grammarly. Look at it. Someone sent me an email this morning. I wouldn't mention the person's name, but I went through it briefly and I saw a typo. And this email was meant to be sent to a professor. So there was a typo somewhere. So make sure you read your work. Don't rely on grammar. Then remember that every SOP should be between 500 and 1,000 words. Just 1 or 2 pages minimum. Minimum 1 to 2 pages is required. All right. So some will tell you, some will say they don't have any specific requirement, but remember, these are people reviewing hundreds of volumes of applications. So if you are writing, let's say 3 pages, the person reads and becomes so bored and dump your application somehow. So make sure that your SOP is between 1 to 2 pages. Okay, some also tell you the number of words, so make sure to double check from step 1, the requirement. Now, in cases where your SOP is more than 1 page or maybe more than 2 pages, make sure that you read your SOP again and again and edit for clarity and everything you need to know from that SOP. Edit again and again. Now, if you are writing maybe a 1-page, the school says you can present a 1-page SOP. Don't say, okay, I have all these points that needs to go into the SOP, so let me minimize the font size. I've done that before. Let me minimize the font size. Let me do single spacing, and everything should just go. It makes the word very cluttered, right? So if you're writing less than that, make sure you articulate your points. Very brief, but very concise and impacting, and get rid of anything that you think is not relevant. If it is 1 page, you don't need to talk about 5 research professional experiences. State the one that you think is relevant to your program, or maybe 1 or 2, try to combine them into 1 sentence or 2. Then that is it. The next thing is that in the process of editing, you might look at one, read through it, and just close your PC, go have fun, or go to it, come back and read it again. So walk away and come back later with a fresh set of eyes. Sometimes the best idea comes when you are not sitting and staring at your PC. So maybe you write your draft, you went through it, and just take a break, come back. When I was preparing this PowerPoint, I did the first one. I wrote the whole thing down, which was more. And then I took a break for like an hour. I go back and I'm like, oh no, we have a lot to do. So let me minimize this. So I took out things that are not relevant. And then I just put some of them into the simplest form, right? So walk away, come back with a fresh memory, and then look at the editing again. And the next thing is that you can also ask someone you trust to read your SOP before you submit it. So someone very close to you, like some of you have sent your SOP, you sent it to Ivan or Moses. Somebody you think has a knowledge in that area, send it to the person, they will read and comment out that, okay, you can do this, you can do that. When I wrote my SOP, I sent it to Educational USA. The manager read my SOP. She made some few changes. I gave it to one of my friends who is in a PhD program in Ghana. He went through it. One of my friends who had like knowledge in writing, she also went through my SOP. I gave my SOP to my mom to go through. So all these people read through my SOP. People I knew that, okay, if there is a mistake, they could point it out. Maybe if Ivan skipped a mistake, I can spot it on, maybe Dafosa can look at it or Moses can look at it. So people you believe in, they'll read it for you and they can make appropriate corrections. That is the editing part. And the lasting impression from Jared Pierce from my Northwestern University is that your SOP can have or can leave a lasting impression if you do it very well, because it provides you with a chance to highlight your unique background and skills so that the admission professional understand why you are the ideal candidate for the program you are applying to. So if nothing else, stay focused on what And what makes it unique, or what uniqueness you are bringing to the program, to the classroom, to the department. And if you put all those things together, you will excel. That is what I have. Now, the final checklist is that after you've gone through all those things, all the processes you've discussed, your checklist is ask yourself, have I described your academic background in details enough to show your experience and preparedness in the field? If yes, check that in your SOP, then you check it. Also ask yourself, have you shown that you are a good fit for the program you're applying to? You have to address that question in your SOP. All these ones stem from what brainstorming. Have you defined why you want a graduate degree in the field? These are checklists for you to put you on track, to help you develop a guideline. Have you also asked yourself whether you've demonstrated that you are self-motivated, you are persistent, you are competent, and have the skills necessary to be successful in the grad school? These are checklists for you. And all those things come in the SOP. You also have to find out whether you followed the SOP instruction as defined by the program you are applying to. And the last thing is, have you polished, have you proofread, and had others review your SOP? These are checklists. So when you go through all these processes and you tick them one by one on your to-do list or on your diary, and everything is met, then you're on the way to making a lasting impression on admission committees. These are the final checklists, and these are some of the few resources that I've looked at. The first one, the first link will tell you how to write a research proposal for PhD students. And the second one is coming from Cornell University. They also give you an extensive ways to prepare for your SOP. So thank you so much. Ivan.
Yeah, Manuel, I'm here. I am still here. Thank you for your talk.
Thank you. I'm done. Okay, so now that before you proceed, I'm going to share one or two SOPs with you and see if we meet some of these requirements. I'll share my personal SOP, some of my friends that I've reviewed, and those that they also sent to me, and we'll look at it in different fields and see how it goes. Ivan, thank you for answering those questions. I'll come back to some of them also. So I'll start sharing the screen, and okay, just give me a few seconds. SOP. Okay, so I said that you brainstorm and then you ask yourself some few questions, and then you go ahead, and then to write your introduction, you start with an icebreaker. There is no specific format, but I started with that. So I started with my own way of starting, linking something natural to the program I want to start. I'm applying for, sorry. So that was my introduction, the first sentence. So from here, so from here all through is what I use as my introduction. So that whole thing was my introduction. Then the second one tells me what motivated me to start to apply for a PhD or to pursue a degree in biostatistics. So I came up that, okay, something happened in my community or in my village and people were dying a lot. And so I'm losing a lot of people. But the one which was very bad was when I lost my granddad from Parkinson's disease. My granddad did not die from Parkinson's disease, but it was a link up. So the loss of my granddad was the motivation for me to pursue a career in biostatistics. So that is the first sentence. The first two from here. The first one started with an icebreaker. And then from here was my motivation to pursue that program. And from there, I moved to the next one. So I now talk about my academic preparation, which is my interest in biostatistics caused me to study statistics in King University, which is in Ghana. And I graduated with my with second class upper with bachelor's in statistics. Then from this part, I listed, even though they have my transcript, but these are courses that are very relevant to statistics program. So I mentioned those courses. That, okay, I've studied this and that course, even though they will see it from my transcript, but I mentioned it. Now, from there, I also said that in your academic preparation, you have to highlight what challenges you had. So this was where I stated what happened to me. All I said was that my undergraduate, especially my first year, was very challenging. That was because I did not understand some concept of the courses. However, I made progress to comprehend those concepts, and then I look at the application of those theories I learned to practical situations in real life. So I stated the problem, but I quickly overcame those challenges with its application in real life problems. So in as much as you state the problem, you also have to tell them how you overcame those challenges. So that it shouldn't be like, okay, in cases where this guy is not doing well in the program, he can't find a way out. You have to state that. So having a look at the introduction from here, my icebreaker, and I talk about my motivation for the program and my academic preparation, which is in the third paragraph. I told them why I want to pursue a degree in biostatistics. Why am I applying for a PhD in biostatistics? So you can see that I'm applying to pursue a PhD in biostatistics with concentration in omics, that is genetics and genomics. So specifically, I'm looking at these areas. Those are my research interests. I stated them. So I stated my research area, which is very broad. The omic is very broad, but I narrow it down to genetics and genomics. And I want to look specifically at single-cell genomics, method for family-based, and linkage, method for genome-wise. I listed those areas I want to research into. Now, after looking at that, the next question is, why am I choosing these areas? Why are you choosing those areas? So you can see that from a point, I also said that these areas, I told them that the areas I will look at will help me to gain insights furthermore. I stated my reason for choosing those areas from there. And now I came back to the program. Furthermore, the program will provide me theoretical and practical understanding to undertake biomedical research, specifically in those areas, which will help me to gain understanding in biomedical data, provide blah, 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 blah. So I stated my research area, which was the first one, the first sentence, then the specific areas I want to research into, which is this part, and why I choose those areas from there. So I'm demonstrating my interest, my motivation, my competence for the areas. And I said, okay, those areas will help me to appeal to me greatly because these approaches are very effective. Like the department has a collaborative research and all that. So I can speak to this person, I can speak to that person, and putting all those ideas together, I can solve a lot of complex problems. So I think the third paragraph or the fourth paragraph talk about my research interest here and why I'm interested in that. Now you move from there. I now talk about my research experience. So I started with my undergraduate thesis. I know you've written thesis, it might be very long, but you need the abstract of that thesis. So I summarized the entire thesis of about 100 or more undergraduate paid thesis into these few sentences. So tell them about your undergraduate or your master's or whatever research you've done and link it to the program. Now, when you've done those research, what did you learn from the program, from the research? So I said, okay, the research broadened my understanding in clinical trials and how to manage obesity, right? So you've done a research, what you learn from it, you also have to state that. So the vital thing you've done in the research, state it, and then what you learn from the program. That was the first research experience I had. I told them what I've done. Then the second one I talked about was a current research I was doing before. So I was also doing this research. I told them the method we are going to use and what we expect, what is the implication or what will be the implication of that research. So the outcome of the research will enlighten decision makers because we're looking at volatile organic compounds in saloons in Ghana. So their exposure to that will be very detrimental to their health. So carrying out the research, their findings will help them to make informed decisions. So what I've learned from that research is stated here. That was the second experience, my research experience I've had. But mind you, because I'm applying to biostatistics, I was trying to link every research I did to the program of interest. So you have to keep that in mind. Then I talked about 3 experiences. So I also talked about when I was a teaching assistant. So those of you who are teaching, I told them what I do, the courses I teach. And aside teaching, because I was also doing research, I've gained a lot of research experiences because I help people to do research, write theses and download journals, how to consult articles and all that. So I stated that one as well. So having stated all that, my research interest, my experiences, now I'm telling them why I'm applying to, why is that degree relevant to me? So I said, okay, from this part, which we can see highlighted in, I'll highlight that in red. I said that coming from a global South country like Ghana, you have a lot of data with a lot of application to it. However, my country depends on foreign expertise. So these people, they hire them, they come and give their expertise. The country pays them back. So at the end of the day, we are losing money. Most African countries go and take money from outside world, the Western world, and we hire expertise from the Western world again. So eventually, it's like cost 90, borrow money, pay them back again with much interest. So when I studied these areas, I'll gain much knowledge in that. Then with those knowledge, I can be able to make impact in my country, right? So I stated why I want to pursue that degree and what I want to do. So that is this part of it, highlighted in red. It is very important that whatever you are doing, link up with it application in real life problem to your country. Now, having looked at that, I talked about why I choose FIU. All these schools in the US, some of them I've had admission to, but among all the admitted schools, why FIU? So I said, I've singled out FIU because as based on my academic pursuit, because of the in-depth research in mathematics and statistics. That's the first one. Strong faculty in teaching facilities and advanced research concepts and numerous opportunities for academic exchange. So that is one. Now, what do I expect from the program? So I expect that under the guidance of these professors in this field, I can receive systematic education in my research areas, which is highlighted there, with special emphasis on keeping abreast with the latest development in academia. So my objective is that after completing the program, I can build a solid foundation for academic career. That is, I want to go into academia in biostatistics, though that could change, but that is what I want to do with this degree, so that I can make exciting contributions. So that is why I am choosing FIU. So I highlight that as well. So let's use a different color. Let's say, yeah, this color as well. So that is why I choose FIU, highlighted there. Now, what do I want to do after graduation? So I said, okay, following a PhD, I intend to seek research opportunities as a professor at the university, where I can, at the university and research institutions, where I can foster independent research and collaborative research in order to become an expert in my field of interest. So my long-term goal is to be directly involved in and contributing to solving real-life challenges through the knowledge I'll gain from that. Now, working with the professors in the department will help me to solve complex problems, like I said. Now, to conclude, I stated that I want to work with these two professors, because I share their research interest. So I stated these two, and I am working with the first one. If I'm working with the two, this is the main advisor, and the second one is the co-major advisor. So I'm working with the professor I want to work with. And to conclude, I stated that thank you for considering my application and financial assistance. Even though you know that, okay, for PhD, it comes with direct funding, but I just stated that there as well. So that is my personal SOP. So like I said, I started with an icebreaker. What motivated me to pursue a career in biostatistics, and I moved on to state my research, my academic preparations. I talk about my challenges. You don't need to emphasize your challenge, just state them briefly, explain why there was this, because there were places where I had a B and all that. So why I had a B, why I had a C in this particular course, I explained that. And how did I overcome that? I make a lot of progress, and I applied the concept, the theories learned in classroom to solve real life problem. Then I stated again my research interest from here. I stated the area I want to work with, or the areas I want to research into, why I'm particularly interested in those areas. That was I think the fourth paragraph or the third paragraph, whichever one it is. Then from here all the way down, in 3 paragraphs, I stated my research experiences. So the first, second, and third up to this point. Those are my research experiences. Then from there, I moved to talk about what is the challenge, or what I've identified and I want to solve with that particular degree. So I talk about it, the challenges facing my country, and why I think I'll be able to solve it. From there, I talked about why I am interested in FIU, like we discussed, what I'm bringing to the table, and my professional goals. I stated that, and the professor I want to work with. That was my SOP. So to me, when I wrote this, in fact, the first SOP I wrote was about 3 pages. One was about 3.5 pages. I have to continue to edit, proofread, edit until I get to what? 2 pages. There were other schools where I have to summarize the whole thing into a single page, which I also did with the few points, the vital point that I needed. So that is the first one, my personal SOP. Then I'm going to share that of my friend who just moved to Georgia. So Abraham, he also started with a quote directly from IBM. So he started with this whole plenty quotes from here up to wherever he is. And he said, because of the motivation of this quote, he want to pursue a PhD in biostatistics, in epidemiology. So when you read this thing, the motivation of this quote was what made him to pursue a career in epidemiology, a PhD program in epidemiology. Okay, then, like I said, there's no particular format in writing SOP, but he articulated his own style. And then he also said when he was in Ghana, when COVID came, his boss was working with the CDC team then. And knowing what his boss was doing, he thought he could do more. And that was another motivation for him. So he stated about two motivations to pursue a PhD and linking that to Ghana and Africa as a whole. So he stated two motivations. I stated one. So there is no particular style of writing it. Then he began to talk about a lot of things, linking COVID to the COVID pandemic to his work as well. Then from there, he talked about his academic work, what he's done, undergraduate research. He talked about it, which was purely theoretical. So he talked about that whole thing as well. Then when he was applying for PhD, he was a master's student. So he told them about his current status, which was a master's student in statistics. But you could see that he stated that I am working on a project under the supervision of Dr. Dat, because that was his graduate thesis. So he also talked about his graduate thesis then. Then from there, he told them the reason behind or the rationale or the aims of the research. I think that was stated from here, the outcome of the research. Now, there was a challenge on his transcript as well. So he said, as my transcript may show, my first year of graduate school was very challenging. I had to complete fall 2020 semester online while still in Ghana. I had to deal with the challenge of taking exam from 11:30 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. due to the 5-hour difference. So that was a challenge, right? So he stated what was a challenge on his transcript, maybe a B plus. So after stating that, how did he overcome that? He said this is not to justify my poor grades, but to present some of the contributing factors I had to overcome. So how did he overcome those problems? He said, to make up for these shortcomings, I completed and received certificate for several courses in statistics with R for public health specialization. These were online courses that he took on Coursera, Udemy, and all that. So he listed the courses, blah, 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 blah. Now, he said that these specializations, some of which are a core specialization of MPH programs, were taught by great professors from Johns Hopkins and Imperial College of London. So he linked those ideas. So completing these courses equipped me with relevant skills necessary to succeed in public health, brought to the light my desire and enthusiasm to contribute to the field of public health. So he was also linking the solution of what he's found to the problem he encountered. So these courses have equipped me with the necessary skills to succeed in my PhD program. So he stated the problem, he overcame the problem, and how he intend again, or the basis for which these courses have taken will motivate him more to do more in the program. All right, so that was his style of writing. Then he now stated his research area. What he wants to study at the PhD program. He stated it. He also linked a quote online again to a real life problem or challenge in the public health sector. So he identified that and he cited an example. So the first part at the top was the research area. And then he talked about it, linked it to the program he was applying to up to this point, up to that point. Then he also went ahead to state his desire and motivation. I desire to study in the Department of Epidemiology. Why the exact school? So he talked about it. He talked about the professors he want to work with, which was stated here. He mentioned all those things. Then he went ahead to make, in his conclusion or his summary, he talked about some challenges or some of the things that the World Health Organization has said, his motivation still, what he intends to do from the PhD program. And that was it. And then in conclusion, he said, I believe that my exposure, so in summary, he summarized all those things. He said, I am conscious of the level of commitment and hard work required to successfully complete graduate studies. I believe my exposure and experience will guarantee me success in my endeavor. I can assure you that I will be a dedicated professional that will help me, that will be dedicated professional that will be proud. You will be proud to count among your ranks. And that was his SOP. So he also started with a quote, direct quote, and that was the basis for his motivation to pursue a graduate degree. Talk about the COVID pandemic and talk about his academic challenges, his research, then his academic challenges. He decided to talk about 2 undergraduates and 3 actually, undergraduate master's thesis and his current place of work. And then he also talked about his challenge. Now, remember, I brought my challenge in the third paragraph, but he brought it, I think, somewhere in the 4th paragraph. So there is no particular way to bring it up. As long as your ideas are flowing logically, it's accepted. So basically, that was for my friend as well. Remember, these SOPs are for PhD application in the field of statistics. And I want to share one last one with you, which is also for one of my friends. She's currently in Ohio. Actually, she arrived yesterday to the US to start a master's program. Okay. So my friend, which is also in statistics, she came on Tuesday. She also wrote this SOP for masters and she sent it to me for proofreading. So she also started with something, her motivation for mathematics. Why she loved math? Because she loved a lot of calculations. She explained the whole thing. And then she said her dream was cut short. Undergraduate, she was admitted to civil engineering, but she doesn't like civil engineering. So she switched to statistics, to read statistics program. Then she talked about her academic. So all these parts were talking about academic preparation and financial challenges. She talked about what made her not to perform in class and all that. And she also mentioned her challenge, like I said, and she overcame those challenges. Some of them were financial challenges, kept her from school for 2 semesters. She has mental issues, and that made her to have a lesser grade. But in final year, she made a lot of, she had a lot of A's, and she was proud of herself. So she stated the challenge and then how she overcame it as well. And she mentioned some courses that she also took, undergraduate program. Then she also talked about her undergraduate research. So mentioned the problem, how she overcame it, courses she took, and then she talked about her undergraduate research, what the research was, the method they used, the outcome, and the implication. Now, he said after a thorough research, I was certain that I want to be a data analyst or data analyst. So she went online to take a lot of data science courses online in R, SPSS, Python, Microsoft Excel, and MATLAB. All those courses, she took them online to enhance her abilities and capabilities for the data science career she want to do. And she also talked about her current position as a teaching assistant in Ghana. So she also had a teaching experience. Then she now dived into why she want to pursue a career and why she want to take a particular school, applying to New Mexico State University. She mentioned that, and her plan is that after the master's program, she want to continue a PhD. And she talked about the department, blah, 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 what she want to do, all that. And she went ahead to talk about her long-term goals as well, because she thinks that there were not a lot of female data scientists in Ghana and in the world. So she want to do that. And her long-term goal is to establish a data firm. So she doesn't want to go into academia after the PhD, but she want to have her own company and train young females in the country to advance significance in data mining, analysis, and computation. Then she concluded, in summary, I am optimistic, my ambitious personality, research experience, blah, 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 will make me favorable for the statistics program. So all that she talked about, she summarized the whole thing here again to emphasize her point. Then my aspirations cannot be accomplished without financial assistance. So remember, I said, I'll be grateful to be considered for financial assistance, but she said she knows that her dream will not come true without financial assistance because she's financially challenged, so she wanted financial assistance. And that was it. Now look at the entire SOP. It's about 807 pages, with I think single or double spacing. Mine was actually 1,103. My friend was, I think, 1,200, but she wrote her SOP with all that we've discussed on the PowerPoint in 807 words. So it depends on how you put it. So basically, that is that for the SOP. Before we proceed to the CV, if you have any question, kindly bring it out and then we'll address it before we continue. Thank you. Questions?
Manuel, thank you so much for, this is a comprehensive talk. So we'll just take questions for in the next 4 minutes, and then yes, you can go ahead and give us more data. Irene.
Please, if you have any questions, just go ahead and now.
Yes, Irene. So Irene, go ahead and ask.
Hello, thank you, Ivan, and thank you, Manuel. You're my personal inspirations, at least on a personal basis. Thank you. I have had challenges over this small season. There are some of the aspects that you talked of in a statement of purpose. There are a number of universities put it in personal statement. And then to make matters worse, there are those that ask for both of them.
Personal statement in what?
Your personal statement and then your SOP.
Okay. In many cases, they are the same. Now, in a situation where they ask you to submit a personal statement in SOP, to the best of my knowledge, they will give you instructions. For instance, University of Michigan, I applied there for a program. They asked me to submit a personal statement and an SOP. Now, what the instruction they gave was my SOP should just contain my academic preparations and my research areas. That was the instruction in the University of Michigan, Department of Biostatistics. Now, they asked me for the SOP. My personal statement, they asked me to talk about my research, the challenges I've had in school. I have that document. If time permits, I will share them with you. Or probably you can email me privately and I can share that with you. So they give specific instruction on what goes into it. Now, if there is no instruction on the university's website, what you can do is to write an email to the program coordinators or the secretary of the department. Hey, I want to apply to your school and you require these two. So what do you mean? They'll respond to you that, okay, this is what we want you to do for. This is what we required. I hope I've addressed your question.
Yeah, sure, you are.
If we have any other person with a question, please raise up your hand and I can.
But I still have another one.
Okay, fine, go ahead.
Throughout the presentation and what you were mentioning, you're coming from a point where you had quite a number of experiences or experience, let's say so. On a personal view, I think what I'm doing now and my internship could be this could be my second job, and then the internship that I had. And coming from an arts background, in Uganda it's called an arts, but in the US where I'm going next is a science. Coming from a psychological background, we've not had those labs. Yeah, you see, I would say I did this, but I literally had that kind of internship. And the internship, the internship, you don't know because you come from, but Ivan might be having an idea. Usually in the internship, some universities don't really, some organizations don't really give you the whole ethics of it. And so I was literally going to just meet the university's expectations of doing internship. And now when you're talking of the experiences you've had, you've told them this, I'm a teaching assistant, I did this. What happens with somebody like me who does not have all that?
Okay, so like I said, if you don't really have much experiences, those that you've had, you are working, right? Are you working?
Yes, now I am.
Okay, so if you are working and probably where you are working, your current place of work, what you do is related to your career. You could link that to the program you're applying for. Like I said, you have to link your professional or research experiences to the program you're applying for. So link whatever you are doing. That's a beautiful picture. Link whatever you are doing to the program. I talked about 3 research experience: my undergraduate thesis work, which I did, and I linked that to the program. And I also talked about a research I did with a professor or some researchers from the School of Public Health. I talked about it. Now, the reason why I talked about it is because it's related to the program I was applying for, right? These are public health issues, and I'm going to study in biostatistics, which is more like public health. So I linked that to it. And my teaching experience, I brought that because I'm a teaching assistant, and when I'm given admission with funding, I'll be teaching. So it's to tell them, okay, I have experiences in teaching. Okay, so if you don't have much, I think when you look at myself, my SOP, that of my friend, and the other person I shared with you, we all talk about 3 basic things. He was a teaching assistant when he was in Ghana, and when he started the master's program, he became a teaching assistant as well. And then he talked about his undergraduate thesis. and the master's thesis. Those are the 3 research experiences that you talked about. The last SOP, which I shared for my friend, she talked about the research, undergraduate research, and her teaching assistantship. She never added any research to it again, except for mentioning the courses she took online, right? So if you don't have a research experience, what I would advise you is that you can, when you were in school, you wrote thesis, so expand more, not much, but talk about your thesis. They know you don't have much experience. So talk about your thesis, what you did, the method. I stated all that in brief. What was the outcome? So you carried out this research. What did you find? What was the result? And what did you learn from that result? All right, not just learning anything, but what did you learn? So once you put those things together, I think you should be getting to about 2 pages. And your current place of work, try to bring something out of it. Maybe if where you are working is not directly related to your program, you can say, okay, in the course of this work, I took this and that courses online to enhance my knowledge. In one of my applications to University of Michigan, and University of Pennsylvania, I stated those things that, okay, to make up for those things, I took some courses which were very relevant to my program of study. So you can state those courses you took online like my friend did, and that should be fine with you. I hope it's clear.
Yes, you are.
And to add on that, Manuel, I strongly believe that there is no experience that we have got from either work or school that is irrelevant. I think in a way that experience shapes us up and prepares us for the future that we have. So someone should not feel like, okay, this is a lot. I do not have this experience. So I shouldn't go ahead and apply. I want to think that I want to advise that people should know that these applications are considered on a case-by-case basis.
Yes.
So just go ahead and write your experience. But like Manuel shared, he said, Manuel had so many people looking at his statement of purpose. You can also share with people that you know, they can look at that and then help you. But I don't really think that people may be like, oh, I don't have experience at all. Yes, there are people who have no experience at all, but still are taken on. It's just the way you write. You have to convince people in the way you write. So that's what I want to add.
Yeah. To add up to that, one of my friends, she came last month. She's in Georgia now. She was my student and we went to the same church. And when she graduated, she was not an assistant. She went to the industry. When she sent me her SOP and her resume, I was so impressed because during those COVID pandemic, she was taking a lot of online courses from top universities. And then she only said about her undergraduate and her current place of work when she was working with Food and Drug Authority in Ghana. Those were the only 2 experiences, but because of extracurricular activities that she did was also one of the deciding factors. So you could list some of those things on your in your resume as well, and it gives you a better chance. She took Chinese, she took a lot of foreign languages, and that was it. So
yeah, and also Emmanuel, to add still, I have attended a number of webinars, especially on Fulbright, so I may not really be to know exactly what happens with your side, Manuel. But with Fulbright, the webinars I've attended have told us many times that getting admitted in USA is not a one thing.
Yes, it's a holistic approach.
Yes, you cannot say that it is my my resume or my good grades is everything. So one of the things that stands out, especially for Fulbright, they want to see, do you have any, for example, community outreach? Because within the CV, I see you have uploaded the CV here, but that is not something you should include. So that's why I still say that there is no experience that is not important.
Yes. Okay. So Yeah, we'll touch briefly on the resume. Yesterday, Ivan sent me some of your questions to look at the difference between a CV and a resume. So I went online, University of Nebraska, they placed this thing there. And I think when you read online, you find this information as well.
Manuel,
So,
may I interrupt a bit?
Come again?
May I interrupt a bit?
Yes.
So we had said we will have the meeting up to 6 p.m. Ugandan time. I think it's 6 p.m. now.
Okay.
Yeah, so but Manuel has still a lot to share, and I know there are a couple other questions to come. So for how we do it here is when you feel you have things to do, you can go ahead and leave. But we're still going on, and then we'll share the video recording after, so that I give Manuel enough time to really share with us the vast information that he has. Thank you.
All right, so with the CV and resume, I think the resume is coming from a French word or something. And I think the CV curriculum vitae is coming from Latin. I don't really need that. So the difference between the two is that for the CV, it's very lengthy. There is no limit to it. But basically with the resume, is a snapshot of what you've done, right? Describe is just 1 to 2 page. Okay, 1 to 2 page. That's the difference between CV and a resume. Now for the content, for the CV, describe entirely your education and professional career. Please, can you mute yourself? A pillar or something.
Manuel, you tried, I've muted everyone, so you should be able to talk and we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So let me go back. So the content is that this one describes entirely education and professional career in details, the CV. And the resume provides a summary of only relevant education experiences and skills. That's the difference. I will share this with you as well between the two. So the CV is very detailed. The resume is a summary, a snapshot. And both are used, except for the CV is mostly used in the educational industry. Like you want to go into those applying for postdoc, professorial position and all that, or lectureship position, you use that. And this one, they are used for professional industry, used for all professional industry except or expert education. So that is the difference between the CV and then the resume. Now, in most universities, in most US universities, they'll ask you to provide your resume, because they have a lot of admission applications. So all you need to do is to just a snapshot, your educational background, your relevant work experiences and all that. So that's the main difference. And then I also saw how to write it. So having explained the difference on this, I will share my personal one. There is no format to write in it. I think Ivan can explain more on this. That is how I wrote mine, and for school application. So you can look at the way you want to do yours as well. There is no specific format to it. So I'm going to share my personal resume with you and how I went about it. Gosh, share screen, okay. Okay, so I used a program in statistics. We have this program that we call LaTeX. It's an online typing stuff. So it's a software you download. We use it for mathematical computation and all that. So that was what I used to write my resume. So the format I chose was, I brought my address. I've since updated this, but I picked this one from my school application material, so I'm sharing this with you. So this then was my Ghanaian address, the university I went to. So the name of the university, my department, private mail, and my email and my phone number. Okay, so in the course of that, I picked some things from my SOP as well and use it as my professional summary. So my goal is that since I'm applying for academic position, I said I'm a researcher in the biomedical field, and my goal is to use whatever I've learned to transform the landscape of biomedicine and healthcare. That is my professional goal. And this was taken from my SOP, but not verbatim. I frame this or paraphrase this to suit this because I only want a 3-page. I actually modified this to a 2-page. Then I also stated on my resume my research interests. So I mentioned my research interests over here. Then I mentioned the specific ones that I'm interested in. So that was how I went about it. So my professional summary, my research interest. Then the next thing I talked about was I talked about my research work, my undergraduate work that I've done. Over here, I only mentioned it, the title of the thesis, but in my SOP, I explained more. Then I went to my educational background, the year I went to school, and then the degree, the type of degree, which was bachelor's in statistics. And I mentioned the class, even though this is still on my transcript, but then I mentioned it. That was how I went about my, and the name of the school. So you can actually use Word to also write it, but I use LaTeX. So from professional summary, research experience, my undergraduate research, which I made to stand out, mention my educational background, which is bachelor's. I ignore, they don't need your high school, so I know that. Then I now talk about my professional experiences. It is advisable that whatever you've done, give, or whatever position you've held, give 2 or 3 points on what you've done in those positions. So I was a teaching assistant, and I mentioned what I've done throughout my teaching responsibilities. So I mentioned that so that the person knows that he's not just a teaching assistant, but he has specific duties that he's done. And from there, I mentioned my internship. So you see, in my internship, in my SOP, I never brought this internship here. I never mentioned it, but I brought it in my resume. So I mentioned the first one, what I've done there. Then I mentioned the second one, what I've also done. Those were my research experiences. But mind you, this one and this one was not mentioned in my SOP because it would be too long to describe all this. Okay, then from there, I mentioned all the research works that I've done. So in 2017, so because there was no publication, I mentioned all the research works that I think are relevant. Some of them I ignore them because they are not relevant to me. Like I don't need them to put on this the resume because it'll be too long. So I mentioned the relevant ones that I think, this is my personal judgment, I think is related to the program I'm applying to. You can list all, but I mentioned those that I've done in 2017, 2018, and I brought my undergraduate thesis, my other research work. And as at the time I was writing that CV, this research was in progress. So that was why I placed here in progress. So mention all the research works that you've done. Then I went on to mention my leadership positions in the resume. So I mentioned the positions I've held. From there, I also mentioned my professional associations that are related to those that I've joined that are relevant to my program. So I joined those that I think will enhance my career. So I mentioned 4 of them. Now, those are the ones I'm currently on or currently in. So my professional associations. From there, I mentioned the softwares I can use. So my computer skills I can use. Then I also told them about the seminars I've attended. I've attended a couple of them, but I only selected some few ones that I was narrowing down to the program so that they know that, okay, you guys are applying to this program and it has some broad knowledge or has a few knowledge on the program. So I mentioned those that are relevant to the program. So I mentioned all of them, and I mentioned my community work or voluntary work that I also done here, and my references. So usually schools would I don't think it is necessary to put your references on a resume. Some people place there upon request, references or reference upon request, but I place it there direct. So in case they look at my resume and they want to contact any of these people, they can. And in one of the webinars I've attended with the university, they recommend that at least for academic resume, you should provide at least 3 references. So I placed 3 references that these people, they taught me, I work with, this was my boss, but all these people taught me, so they know me very well. And if they reach out to them, they can easily speak about my abilities to them. So in referencing to, make sure you put someone that can be able to speak to your abilities, but not your husband, your uncle, family issues, take it out. But somebody who knows you professionally or has taught you before, place that person's name, their details. So the name, his rank, the institution, and please use a valid email that when they reach out to the person, they can easily get them. So I place their email in their phone numbers. So when you send an email, you can get them. When you call them, you can also pick up as well. So basically, that was how I wrote my resume. It was 3-page, but I since took some things out to make it 2-page. So yeah, this is my resume. Please, any questions? Hello, questions? Do you have questions?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Like I was laughing at myself when we're sharing your CV. So I opened mine and I'm like, it's funny, but
Please wait. Some of these things I've shared here I'm not intimidating anyone. These were things that I've done, and I present them to the admission committee, right? So don't be intimidated when you see someone's resume. Probably when I see Ivan's resume, I'll be like, whoa, this guy has not done anything, right?
I doubt that, Manuel.
professors.
So you don't need to feel bad about your resume. Whatever you have, like I said, just present yourself and don't lie, please. Because if you lied and they call you and you can't defend that, it might be a problem. Okay, might be a problem. Now, before we move to the next thing, I want to quickly share with you one of my friends' SOP based on the instruction given by the school. So for his school, I think I asked somebody to apply to that school. I don't know if you guys have done it or not. For biomedical program, it's a medical school in Wisconsin. And I'm going to quickly share
Manuel,
with you.
as
Yeah.
I share this, I want to mention that
Mhm.
all the materials you have shared, if you're fine with it, you can share them with me. I
Yes,
can
sure.
put them in one folder,
Mhm.
and then I can share a link that
Mhm.
whoever wants to access them can just click the link and get all those materials. So
Sure,
I'll put your materials and also my materials in there so that
yes,
people have more like templates where to
yes.
begin from.
All right.
Yes.
So with this one, and the guy arrived in July. It's a medical school in Wisconsin, but they have a very strong, they do cancer biology. So somebody who reached out to me for medical program, I think you can look at that school. Now, for his SOP, the school gave specific instructions like question and answer. So the first question is this one. They give a specific requirement. Please provide a general statement regarding your interest in the program and any related preparation or experiences you have had and what you hope to gain from it. 6,000 spaces, so both the writing and the space in the 6,000. Consider including information within your personal statement that include what your motivations are for pursuing this degree program and how it relates to your career goals. And the person went ahead to explain that. So he also started with a question he heard from someone. That was a projection, I think, by the World Health Organization or something. I'm not too sure. So he went ahead, explained that was the motivation. This question propelled him to write these plenty things, right? He also talked about his undergraduate work. He was a master's student then, so he talked about his undergraduate work and explained them in details. And he said these experiences propelled him to do a lot. And his current research was because he want to apply to that school because they don't have a lot of materials back in Africa to carry out a lot of research that will make him to achieve his aim in cancer STEM and cancer biology or something. And after 5 years, that is what he expects to get from the school. All right. So after whatever years, he want to continue and do blah, blah, blah. He want to return to Nigeria to be a professor, that kind of thing. So it was a question and answer session that he has to answer. And then the next thing was, please describe any past or current experience with your research or data analysis you have and how it may relate to the program we're applying to now. So they're asking him to describe or relate his past experiences to the program. And he went ahead to do that. So every school has their own requirement. Now, I think the next question would describe either a challenging situation you have faced and how you respond to it, or an accomplishment that you are most proud of. So this is these are options for him to choose. And he went ahead to choose a challenge he faced and how he responded to it in Nigeria. So yeah, every school has their own requirements. You just have to know how to go about it. In my case and that of my friends, where we combine everything, for him, he has to put everything in sections. So SOP differently, challenges he faced, and his past or recent experiences. So again, look at the requirements and what they've asked you, and you respond to it appropriately. That is for the SOP and the resume. Any more questions?
No, Manuel, I think you may go ahead and
Okay.
give us more info that you actually have.
So if there are no questions, let me see.
I have a question.
All right, go ahead, please.
Good evening, friends, and Emmanuel and Denny. Emmanuel and Ivan, thank you for the initiative and the information shared. My name is Mumbere Brian. I'm a student of a Master's of Economic Policy and Planning at Makerere University, where Ivan was, and Ivan is a former colleague in some school. So I've known him for some time. So my question is, I intend to do a PhD. After
Brian, your network is
this, I was yesterday.
Brian, we missed the
So you said you are graduating.
Yes.
When are you graduating?
Graduation is supposed to be in Jan 2024, but the course by July I'll be done next year.
So when are you done with coursework, right?
Yes.
You are writing your thesis.
Come again.
Are you writing your thesis?
I'm writing it. Yeah, I'm writing.
Okay, so if you're going to graduate next year, I think that you should apply. You should start applying now because you have your coursework, so you can be able to have a transcript which will show in progress. Once you have your transcript, you have your resume, you have your thesis, you can be able to write your SOP and all that. So you should start applying now. You can miss graduation, but then your certificate should be sent to the school, your official transcript. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So I think we are about 7 people in this group because I log in with 2 devices.
Just to help the first person who, I think the best, sorry, I've forgotten your name. I think the best thing is for you to check out with, because there are different deadlines. So I think the most common ones have been December. So you need to just start preparing which universities you need to go to and for which program. If it's the same, you check it out, and then also check out when their deadlines are due, because you literally work with their deadlines and see what, if you can catch up or you will postpone it to the next year, like that.
Yeah, so for PhD, deadlines are usually December 1, December 15th. If anything at all is January 1, January 5, January 15th. But if you intend to apply for PhD, I'll recommend that by mid-November, your application should be done. Your recommendation should be sent, everything sent to the school. That is my advice, like Irene said. So December 1 is the deadline for PhD. Even if the school said January, by December, I want you to submit that because we have a winter break. So by the time you are submitting yours, they come back to school and verify all those things. It to be a long process. So December you should be able to submit all your materials. Now,
Thank you.
The last session for this webinar today is kind of very vital to me because I think I even asked you guys to submit your background and we send some scholarship. As long as we come across them, we'll send it. But it looks like somebody will send you an email or a message. I want to pursue this program. What is the school I want to apply to? Before I proceed, for this full disclosure, I don't have a database for that. So I only go online as well and search in my free time. So I don't have a time where I say, okay, I'm going to look for this program. No, in my free time, when I think I'm not doing anything, sometimes I'm taking lunch or dinner, and that's when I search. So I'm going to show you a technique that works for me and what I've been using so that you can be able to search as well. So I hope you can see my screen, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So if your goal is to go to the US, so we have 50 states in the US. So I'll type 50 states in the US. It comes here. You have full list of all the 50 states in the US. All right. So it loads and all that. They are there for you. You can see it. So I'm going to open the next tab. So maybe I want to look at PhD or Masters, right? So MSc, let's say, please give me a program. You are in art, right?
Do
Okay.
psychology
Okay. MS Psychology.
and legal psychology.
It's okay. Psychology is fine. MS Psychology in Florida. So I'll start from home. All right. So when I Google that, so yeah, MS Psychology in Florida. So it loads. You see, you scroll down. So the first one, these are ads. You can also read about it. But you see, the first one comes University of South Florida. So it tells me the school that offers psychology. So I'll open this link. Go to, we are here. You can see Department of Psychology. Graduate programs. You look at it. So they have PhD programs in psychology. They have masters or MA, graduate. They have every information you need. So you now go, you're looking for PhD. You go for admissions. So they stated it there. Application submission deadlines, priority deadlines for full consideration for admission and funding. So when you apply for this program by December 1, the deadline is December 1, you'll be considered for full scholarship. So those who apply by these dates, they'll be given full priority, right? That's the meaning. So that's the deadline. Then final university domestic. So this is for US citizen and permanent resident. Then they said the deadline is what, 15th February. Now you see applications received after December will be considered only as space permits. So they'll receive your application, all right, but they only consider it when they say that, okay, in the first deadline, the application deadline, the first one, maybe we are admitting 8 students, we admitted, let's say 5 that are qualified in that pool. So now let's go back to the February 15 and see who are those qualified. Then they now look at it. Now in the December 1 deadline, if they're looking for 8 students and all 8 students are admitted and funded, it means this here, anyone who applies on this date, don't look at it. Some schools can do you a favor and place your admission there. They'll still keep your admission till the following year. Some will just discard it like that. Some also write to you that, okay, we've identified you as a potential student. Now we've awarded our funding and to the first batch. So if anyone rejects the funding, they'll not get back to you. So to be fully considered for admission with funding, you have to apply by December 1. Now there's a final university international deadline, February 15th. So whether you are international student or US citizen and you apply for this date, you don't qualify for funding unless there is a space. Whether you are a US citizen, you are a foreign student, when you apply by December 1, you automatically qualify for admission and funding, provided that you meet the credentials. Are you okay with the deadlines? Then you now move. They'll give you all that I've described there. They'll tell you, right? And they also tell you that applications are processed only once each year for entry in the upcoming fall term. So they don't consider spring, which is like January admissions. Don't consider summer admission. They only admit students once in a year. That is August. So if you're looking at 2023, by December 1, 2022, your application material should be received by the department, right? Now, they look at some other materials that you have to look at. Applicant may apply to one of the following programs. Concentration, so these are the concentration they have. Students are eligible to apply directly to our PhD program with either a bachelor's or a master's degree. So Irene, you can look at it. You know the requirements and all
Yes.
that. So now you look at their GPA, all other requirements, you read about it. But basically, that is how you go about the admission requirement. You search schools. So once you go there, I think they should have faculty. So you go to people. Now you see administration. This name, she's the, or he or she is the department chair. This is the associate program coordinator for the PhD program. The next person is the campus chair, blah, 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 blah. Who you need to contact. So the program, graduate program director is the, when you click on this person, you find the person's email, the person's office number, and all that. So you don't have a problem. If you're looking for a faculty to which you want to work with, you go there. Since they have different concentration, you click on it, you see who is there. You look at it. You can also look at their current students, master students or PhD student. Their names are there, and then the year they were admitted and all that. So basically, that is how you go about school application, how to search for schools. You can do the same for the master's program. So we're in Florida. You look at Florida, the first one is University of South Florida. The next school that Google give us is University of Central Florida. They also do the same thing. Look at Florida Atlantic University. They also offer the same program that is in the state of Florida. You look at University of Florida, they also offer the same program. So in the state of Florida, you have about 4 schools that offers the same thing. That is how I search my schools. So whatever information I put there, I just search, look at the requirement, and place the information there. Now, when you move from there, you can go to, let's say, Georgia. So the same info will come. University of Georgia offers psychology. You go and read about it. Masters in psychology. Georgia Southern University, Augusta University, all these schools are in Georgia. So you look at each of the schools, you look at the admission requirement, and then you write to them about it. Or maybe you want to go to New Jersey or New York. So you look at it, New York University is there, Cornell University, Pace University, plenty. So people of God, my lovely people, this is how I search school. So every information is there. That is what I do. I don't have a database like for this program. No, I only search the name of the program and add the state to it, because you guys said you want to go to the US, and add the state to it, and Google will give me a couple of schools in that state. You go to the department, glance through the admission requirements. If you think you meet them, you go ahead and apply. My people, that is what I do. So
Thank you.
For this one, I will stress, with the permission of Ivan, if you send me a private message or like I need a school, I'm not going to do it. Starting from Monday, school opens, I need to do a lot of things. I'm not going to be sitting on searching for schools unless maybe I'm free, I will. But to sit down and say, like, okay, I want to apply to maybe medical school, give me a school, I don't have a database. This is how I search the schools. And I think Ivan did the same thing in the last webinar as well, in the summer. So this is how we go about it. If you're looking for chemistry, the same thing goes. You find a lot of schools that offers chemistry in New York. In every state, they are there. New York University, plenty. So whether master's or PhD or whichever degree you're looking for, you have everything you need. All right. Any other question? Irene?
Yes.
Yeah. Any other questions before we shut down?
We are good. I am good with
Okay.
searching. I guess I've exhausted the searching and I've gotten most of the places I want. I'm just in the hard part where I keep sending you and you keep inquiring.
Yes, so yeah, you can also reach out to the professors for if you want to make an inquiry, find out from them, you can also do that as well.
Well, Manuel, are you done?
Yes, I'm done. What again? Yeah, basically. I think we discussed how to send emails to professors, so it's not really a bad idea. Anyway, Ivan, one moment.
Sure.
Okay. So this file. And yeah, so before you like to write an SOP, I know it might be very challenging, right? All that I've shared with you and that of my friend, we didn't conjure it from the sky. Can go online as well. We read online and put our own things together. But please, this is a warning. Don't copy anything online. They'll easily know. So I want to write SOP in psychology. You can say sample SOP for PhD psychology. There are people that write SOP. This is coming directly from University of LinkedIn. University of Nebraska at LinkedIn. So you can look at it, you read it, you click on it, you read what went into it. And so, yeah, you read about it just to give an idea how to go about how to write SOP in psychology. A lot of schools will give you that. Stony Brook also have one, a sample SOP for psychology. Yeah, even like that, you have Ohio Wesleyan University, they also have one. And there are other vlogs and blogs as well that also write, give you a sample. So anything you want, maybe PhD, French. It's also online. People will show you how to write it. So go online, read how they did this. Then when you read, you cannot be able to follow their format, but you can borrow a phrase, or maybe you borrow a phrase and paraphrase it in your own ways, but please don't copy. Don't copy verbatim. It's very dangerous. Yeah, so the last thing I want to share, and then we can close, is we did that before, but I'm going to do it again anyway. You want to reach out to a professor. I shared this before. I'm going to do it again. I'm doing it again. You want to reach out to ask for admission requirement. Now, there are situations where there are two scenarios where you want to write to maybe the department secretary. So when you're writing to the department secretary, they also have an idea about admission inquiries. You don't need to give much details. So this one and the one my personal one is similar because I wrote it for the person and we're in the same program. So she introduced herself, her academic background, then what she's doing, her current place of work and all that. Then she talked about basically her research, the areas she want to work in or study. And she went ahead to say, okay, I want to apply to your program for fall 2022. So this is why she's writing the email. Because she want to apply for master's program. You say, the first question she was interested in is, do they have funding? Because some schools, they will tell you they don't have funding for master's, but they have funding for PhD. So you have to be very sure before you make an informed decision whether to apply for master's or PhD. So the first question is, they have funding for masters? If they do have funding for masters, if yes, do you consider applicants at the time of admission or a separate application is required? Some schools, once you apply and you admit, you automatically qualify for funding for a master's program. Some also ask you to apply separately. They have an application form where you have to apply separately. So that's one. That's for the funding. A second question is, do they require the GRE? Because most of the program require the GRE. If they do require the GRE, she's asking for a fee waiver. I'm sorry, a GRE waiver, whether they should waive the GRE for her. The reason being that she doesn't have money to go and be writing register for the GRE. It's very expensive, so she's asking them for a fee waiver. Then, in order to prove a point, she attached her transcript and resume to the email. So whoever is going to read this email sees that after the inquiries and all that, okay, this person may require GRE, but she has a very good academic background, or he has a very good academic background, he can have the GRE based on the transcripts and the resume, then they do that. But this is why I stress that you always attach your transcript and resume to the email so that they know who is applying to the program, right? You can't just say, okay, give me money to do this if you don't have a proof. So based on the person's credentials, they can give you they can waive the GRE, or they can even give a fee waiver. Basically, that is that for the admission inquiry, whether you're writing to a professor or a secretary. In my case, I did the same thing. I did the same thing for that inquiry, but then I expanded my research area, which is here, and I also went ahead to do the same thing. I wrote it so it was the same question that I asked for the person as well. So basically, introduce yourself to the professor and your research area and make any inquiry. Now, in case you are reaching out directly to a professor who you want to work with, after stating your research area and blah, 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 you now tell the person, okay, I'm going through your research and you are doing this kind of research. I've read this paper, you did this and that, and I'm interested in this. So I want to work with you. Please don't ask them, it's good, but then to me, I wouldn't ask them that, are you taking students? To me, I wouldn't put that question there. So just say that you want to work with them, you want to apply for fall 2023 or 2024, whatever, and you'll be grateful to work with them. And for PhD, fine, if there are funding opportunities for you and all that. And that should be it, personally. So this is how I went about my school application. And as time permits, when I'm advising students, I share some of this as well. So yeah. Thank you, Ivan.
Manuel, I cannot thank you enough. You have shared a lot of information for sure. And I really believe that if anyone really comes across this information and does what is required, they will be here by all means. Thank you for the generosity. I really appreciate you, Manuel.
So questions, Irene and Co. I think we have 10 people. We are basically 7. So
okay, so I want to thank because we kept saying that this is the last webinar we are having this particular year, because we will be so busy. Our semester starting next week. We will be very, very busy. And the semester ends usually in December, usually mid-December. So starting August, starting next week until December, it will be very hard to get hold of us. And that's why we were thinking that we could do this early before we get into real business. So that's why we say this is the last we're having this week. this year. Unfortunately, whoever has not attended or whoever will not watch the video may miss the deadline of applying for these PhD programs, because as you can see, some universities want December 1st, others want December 15th. So, and we don't have any other webinar. So feel free to share the link. I'm going to share this information on the WhatsApp group. Emmanuel, I think you should send me all, for example, I've seen you have the email, sample emails on your Word document. I request that you forward it to my email, and all the things you've shared today, I'm going to create one link anyone can use to get whatever, all this information. I'll also share my my resume, I'll share my information. Sorry about that. So if we can, I mean, I can share all my information as well for those who may be intending to really write resumes and stuff. So for Manuel doesn't have like community service and stuff, but if you're applying for Fulbright, they want to see your leadership skills, they want to see your community service, something like that. And I'm going to do that as soon as I can. So, okay, I was just in here. So we're going to end this meeting, and then I will have this Zoom recording shared. I don't know, I can't promise when, because like we're so busy. And all of the members here who would like to us to read the SOPs, read their personal statements. I don't know how to write SOPs, but I know how to write a personal statement, because that's what we write in Fulbright. So we don't write SOPs. So when you send us the emails with those attachments and we want us to read, please give us time. We have so many things to do, so many assignments to do and everything. You always give us time, but we know that we shall always answer. So if you know you want to apply by December 1st, you give us these things ahead of time, so that even when we delay, you are still within the deadline time. But I promise you that we shall do our best. I really promise you that. Yes. So I want to thank all members who have kept here until this time. We've short 75 minutes past the time we had agreed about, but it is worth it, because I wanted Manuel to give us his very best until he feels, okay, I've given you everything. I wanted to make sure that happens. So, so I believe that we shall continue talking more, and then if you have any issues, please either put in the chat or send us text messages. But yeah, we wish you good luck. We wish you good luck, and Moses, you come and use my WhatsApp and tell people. I was telling them that you are here. Moses is here and is in our lab, so I want him to say hello. The guy landed yesterday in the US, and he's very tired. He's in our lab, and I have him here. He was in the last time in our meeting. So what's up, Wakuliza?
Hello everyone. Moses, and thank you, Manuel. I've been listening in. Vernon logged in. I was using Ivan's Zoom.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing the information. One thing I can tell everyone is you give it your best and try. But it's always also good to do something when you still have some days before the deadline. Because to be honest, initially I didn't understand what Ivan meant when he said he was busy. But Ivan can testify. In less than an hour, I've been moving in over 5 offices. And even up now, I haven't gotten whatever I wanted. So I still have to move around. But I believe if you send your things on time, we can be of help, but at least prior to the deadline. Thank you. I wish you the best in this journey.
All right, guys, that is Moses for you. So we always tell you, I'm busy, and he was not like getting it very well. Now he does. And I've been laughing at him the whole day. All right, friends, thank you so much. You can stay at leisure, but the meetings are ended. Thank you for attending.
I want to show you my Manuel. Ivan and Manuel.
All right.
I can't.
Friends, you can go ahead and log out if you so wish, but you can stay back and ask us or whatever. We're here for a couple of minutes. Bye. Go
I
ahead.
want to show you the CV I have. So you allow me share.
Okay.
Oh, you're going to do another desk? Then you do it.
What is that? No. Just go ahead.
I was laughing at my own self. Ah, okay, allow me.
Oh, sorry. You didn't request for it, so all right. Go ahead. You can now go ahead.
Please don't laugh. It's just the making.
And also forgive me if I laugh.